Welcome. The previous videos we have discussed about inductance, self-inductance, mutual inductance. Then we have found expression for inductance due to solenoid, then toroid. So in this video we are going to find out an expression for inductance due to coaxial cable. So before starting with mathematical derivation, a very important point to be noted here is the coaxial cable carrying current will not have or cannot have many turns. Here conductors are solid conductors. We are talking about inductance formed due to a straight line conductor spiral bounded to form a coil and flux linking with each turn of this coil and total flux linkage by current, that is the ratio of total flux linkage to the current flowing in that coil is inductance. The basic idea remains the same, but when you come to coaxial cable, as I told already, the conductors carrying current are solid, but still experimentally it was found that a coaxial cable exhibit value of inductance. This may be due to there are two conductors carrying current but in opposite direction. Usually the inner conductor will carry current in one direction and outer conductor carries current in other direction. We have discussed in detail about coaxial cable while deriving magnetic field intensity due to coaxial cable while applying Ampere circuital law. If you are wondering what I am talking about, please try to revisit that video. Applications of Ampere circuital law. We have found magnetic field intensity due to coaxial cable. So there I have explained you the structure of coaxial cable already. Okay, so basically due to this feature, coaxial cable, that is the current carried by two conductors but in opposite directions, is giving us effect of two magnetic fields circulating, okay, more than one magnetic field circulating in opposite directions around inner conductor and outer conductor. And you know that magnetic field intensity outer to outer conductor is going to be 0. So we have some value of magnetic fields inside, between, all that. So all that we have discussed already. So because this effect, a coaxial cable exhibits properties of inductance. So it is important to understand or remember this. Okay, it is not having coils which is responsible for inductance. Or in other words, in some resources or textbooks or whatever resources you are referring to, you may find that coaxial cables, the inner conductor and outer conductor, are assumed to be made up of so many coils. Okay, so many coils, but arranged next to next, very near to each other, thereby approximated as solid conductor, and that's how it is exhibiting property of inductance. Yeah, so there are different ways of looking at it, doesn't matter. What you need to understand is whenever you have a concentric conductor, which is nothing but a coaxial cable kind of carrying current in two different directions, it may exhibit the property of inductance. It's important to understand that. Or always remember that a coaxial cable has self-inductance. Okay, so mathematically I need to express it. For that, let us consider a coaxial cable with inner conductor radius small a, please refer the figure, and outer conductor radius small b. And the length of the conductor is also fixed here. I am not going to consider an infinitely long cable. So I am just considering a non-cable. The length of the cable is known to me. It is taken as a small d. I am also assuming that the cable is kept along z axis. Okay. Now, as I told you here, the total flux linkage is basically the total number of turns into flux. So we already know that my lambda is nothing but n into phi m. Now here, since this n is number of turns, so here this number of turns I take it as 1, because I consider this conductor as solid conductor. Basically it has only single turn, that is the idea. So I can say that the flux linkage is same as total flux, total magnetic flux produced. So we start our derivation by understanding this. Okay, now we know that phi m, that is the magnetic flux, the total magnetic flux present around this coaxial cable can be easily calculated by closed integral of b dot ds. So there is a vector involved in this calculation. That's why I have referred you that this coaxial cable is kept along z axis. In case of solenoid toroid derivations, we were not worried about that. We were considering only the magnitude, but here vector is involved, so that is important. You can keep it in any one direction, okay, but I am assuming it in z direction. Okay, so now phi m is closed integral b dot ds. Okay, this is already known to us. I am not going to explain you why it is. Now b is nothing but mu h. B is nothing but mu h, and I already know what is b due to a coaxial cable, or nothing but h due to a coaxial cable, right? So using Ampere circuit law, we have find it out as mu I divided by 2 pi rho, that is basically this radius. I am talking about the magnetic field intensity inside the coaxial cable. So the radius, so here I have taken the radius as r. Doesn't matter, you should not confuse, somewhere you will see rho, both are same. So mu I by 2 pi r along radial direction, so a phi cap. So this is my b. Okay, now if I can decide what is my ds, I can integrate and find what is my phi m, right? Now what is ds? Yeah, ds should give me the area involved. Now here, since b is varying radially, I have to consider the entire surface area, right, varying 5 ways. So ds is nothing but ds phi. Okay, don't confuse with this phi and this phi. Getting this phi is r phi z coordinate of cylindrical coordinate system. This is phi m, which is magnetic flux. Yeah, so this is nothing but dr dz a phi cap. So now I know what is ds vector, I know what is b vector, so I can now calculate the total magnetic flux involved in my calculation. That will be the closed integral of mu I divided by 2 pi r dr dz, because fi cap dot fi cap is 1. So mu I by 2 pi r dr dz. So I understand that I have to calculate the variation along r direction as well as z direction. This comes because it is along z axis. The coaxial cable is along z axis. If I kept it along x axis, this could have been dx. Okay, if it is cylindrical approach, then okay, if it is along so r axis, then this will be r, this will be some other parameter, okay, whatever. So mu I by 2 pi r dr dz. Now I have to decide upon the limits from where to where I have to find the variation of dr and dz. So I will have two limits, one is regarding r and other one is regarding z. So r can vary from inner radius to outer radius, okay, a to b, and z can vary from 0 to d, that is the maximum length of coaxial cable is only d. So z can vary only from 0 to d. So if I integrate with respect to these limits, mu I by 2 pi r then I'm going to get what is my total flux involved. Okay, so if I integrate this, mu I by 2 pi, all these values are constant, so I'll put it outside. So I have to integrate 1 by r dr. Integral of 1 by r is ln r from the limit a to b, and integral of dz is z, and that is from 0 to d. So applying the limits, I'm going to get my phi m as mu I d, okay, so z becomes d divided by 2 pi, and this is ln b minus ln a, which can be written as ln b by a. So this is my total flux. Why I was interested in total flux? Because total flux is now nothing but the flux linkage. Total flux linkage is now equal to total flux, and that I have. So from definition of inductance, the total flux linkage, right? Total flux linkage to the total current will give me the inductance. Okay. So going by that, so here the total flux linkage is phi m, the total flux itself, that by the current carried by coaxial cable. Let me take it as I, the total current as I. So this comes to mu I d ln b by a whole divided by 2 pi e. So again here you can see here this current terms cancels out, and I will end up with my inductance value or expression as mu d by 2 pi, where d is the length of the coaxial cable, ln b by a. So this much Henry is my expression for inductance of a coaxial cable. So if you want inductance per unit length, okay, inductance per unit length, then I can write it as L by D, because D is the length of the coaxial cable, which we have considered here for derivation. So if I consider length, okay, inductance on length, that is nothing but inductance per length, then this expression changes as mu by 2 pi ln b by a, this much Henry per meter. Because sometimes it is necessary to calculate inductance per unit length. For example, if the coaxial cable is as long as 7 meter, 70 meter, 700 meter possible, the length is known, but I need to basically calculate inductance per unit length or per meter length basically, then I can use L by D formula, which is nothing but mu by 2 pi ln b by a. That will be, because basically D equal to 1, that's what I am saying. In this equation, in the first equation, if you put D is equal to 1, that is same as this. Okay, so you will get per unit, because that is necessary to understand, because we know that practically these coaxial cables are going to be very long cables. The applications can be many, okay, basically communication related applications where you have electromagnetic waves traveling, those signals are carried, okay, these cables will be really long. So while calculation of inductance become a crucial factor while laying down these cables. So to summarize, inductance of solenoid, toroid and now coaxial cable does not depend directly on the amount of current carried by these physical structures. So here also you can notice that inductance is directly depending upon the length of the cable, right? And it is logarithmic of b by a, means basically it is depending upon the outer radius and inner conductor radius. So basically if you know what is the inner conductor radius, outer conductor radius, and you know what is the length of the cable, you can calculate the inductance of a coaxial cable. I hope the inductance concept as well as finding out inductance of these physical structures are very clear from these many videos. Thank you for watching.